What's up, everybody? It's Sid and Millie back with another episode. Thank you
Facts.
so much for joining us today.
Hmm.
If it wasn't clear, we'll be chatting about a book that actually was written by yours truly, Millie. BC Millington is who it's by. This is just a book that, again, written by our lovely Millie. And it is kind of a horror story thriller kind of book, and
Yeah,
I'm gonna go ahead and read the back to give you
cool.
all a little bit of a insight on what Seven Levels is about.
That's me.
Yes, it
That's
is.
me.
Our author. Okay, so it starts by saying, sometimes it feels like an unknown force is working against you. Seven Levels is comprised of seven completely unique stories that are meant to provoke a connection to the theme of each one. However, each of the stories share a common figure. Our experience as humans is largely predicated upon our ability to survive in an unforgiving world. However, we could pose the question, shouldn't our sentience afford us an escape from the constant quest for survival? Hell isn't a mythical place where we are sent to suffer. After death, we have no mind or body to experience suffering. Maybe we experience levels of hell every day in our lives. So,
Yeah.
Millie, I want to push it over to you
Yeah,
now.
yeah,
I'd love to hear a little bit more about the, I guess, idea behind
for sure.
Seven Levels
For sure.
and kind of how you got the idea and everything.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you for the introduction and kind words. Yes, this is my first book, my first full book that I've written and put out. So yeah, Seven Levels. It's kind of my baby. And yeah, like the back of the book said, it's seven individual stories. They're all unique in their own way. And they all are kind of in a way like metaphors to things in like real life, but without like kind of directly addressing them, so to speak.
Yes.
And then yeah, kind of like, I guess I'll start from the back of the book, like with the sometimes it feels like an unknown force is working against you. I feel like all of us can relate to that. Sometimes we're just having
Definitely.
like a really bad day and it feels like everything is going against you. You're hitting every stoplight, you're dropping pieces of paper, like just stuff like that
Forgetting
happening.
things, or
Yeah.
yeah.
And like it just feels like everything that's going wrong could go wrong. And so, yeah, so that was kind of like something that I was like leaning into, kind of just mirroring kind of what was happening in my life at the time when I was writing this, just kind of
Mm-hmm.
like the turmoil I was feeling internally as well, and losing some important people in my life. It felt like, there was an unknown power working against me. And so that
Yeah,
was kind of the provocation of like the thesis behind this book.
I
Um,
love that.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then one of the things on the back as well about like the human experience. Yeah, like our experience is predicated on our ability to survive, right? Like our entire purpose of life as humans, it seems like, is just to like work so that we can afford to live. Um,
Yeah, basically. I mean, that
yeah,
is what we have to do. It's like our
yeah,
version of survival now is having
right.
to work and go through all of those sort of
Yeah,
mundane experiences just to
yeah.
be able to pay the bills and live a
Exactly.
life, you know.
Exactly. And so this is kind of like challenging that a little bit and kind of calling out that system that we all kind of are subservient to, that we exist in right now. And then, yeah, finally, like the third paragraph on the back of the book about like hell not being like a physical place. Like, yeah, the idea of like hell being somewhere that humans go to suffer, it just isn't reality, right? Like,
Hmm.
after we die, you've got no body, you've got no physical, like mental anything to experience pain. So that eternal suffering, eternal burning in hell, like that just isn't reality. But what is reality is that we suffer all the time in our normal lives.
Yeah.
People experience suffering every day, whether it's a bill being late, whether it's dealing with a mean boss or a mean person on the road or getting stuff in traffic. Like all of us deal with
Excuse me.
hardships, with things that we would probably consider like hell on earth, right? And so that is kind of, again, like an idea that I'm kind of posing and testing with this book, which is, maybe hell is what we are experiencing here on earth when we're having bad times, having bad days, having bad weeks. Like maybe that is hell. Maybe that's what you're experiencing. And so, yeah, that's kind of what the ideas that I was challenging.
Yes,
So.
I absolutely love that. And I mean, I have read this many times.
That makes sense. Sid is also the editor.
Yes.
So, this doesn't happen without her and her help and support, and also her amazing editing ability. Thank you for your contribution.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I have read this many times, and what Millie BC Millington, our resident author, is talking about with just like the metaphors, like anybody can connect to the stories that are in here. Anybody that lives an average life in especially the United States can connect to the feelings that you're invoking in a lot of the stories in here, and like the levels of hell that we experience in our own lives. And I mean, even globally, anybody can connect to any of the stories that are in here. And I feel like that really makes it so beautiful. And like, I mean, the stories itself are a bit scary. We're not going to lie here.
You can't tell from the cover.
It's a bit of a horror. But I think it is really, I think you did a really great job making it so that people can connect to the stories and they can draw parallels to their own lives. And I think I could even do that. And just, I mean, we're going to get into the stories themselves, but I could definitely do that in just about every single one of these stories. I'm like, oh yeah, I can relate to that. And like it further dramatizes and adds horror elements. And I think like, yeah, you did a great job evoking those feelings.
Cool, thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
And yeah, I mean, coming up with the like stories for it, kind of eventually, the goal will be to be able to have them displayed in like a film. My ideal situation would be in some sort of like short series, similar to like a Black Mirror, or like a Love, Death, and Robots sort of vibe, where the episodes are just like one episode per level, type of thing, where we can really experience it in an episode and then you go into the next one. So I have kind of like the visual playbook in my head. So I was trying to do my best to put what I'm seeing in my head down like on the paper. But I think like long term, in an ideal world, like I would love to get this put on the screen like as like a Netflix series or something like that. That would be ideal.
Yeah, absolutely. Some sort of limited series, because the really cool thing about it, like it says on the back, it's very much unique stories in every single level. So it can be one episode per level, all the way up through level 7.
Yeah.
And I feel like that really is the end goal with this. So should we?
Well, I want to start with acknowledgements.
Ooh,
if that's
okay.
Cool. I was
Just
going to read out my acknowledgements for this story, because I think that's super important.
Yeah.
So to Sid, thank you for making this possible. You helped bring my vision to life and have supported this journey every step of the way. In your presence, I'm able to flex my creative muscles in a way I've never experienced before. And for that, I'm eternally grateful. To put it simply, you are the inspiration behind the art.
You're so cute.
Family. It's hard to put into words how much you all mean to me. However, I can say in full confidence, there is no end to the connection we all share. And to the ones who have passed, though you are no longer with us, we remember you, love you, and think about you constantly. Rest in peace. We will meet again.
Yes. Yeah. That made me a little teary-eyed too. Anyway, no, that's beautiful. I think your acknowledgements are so
Thank
beautiful.
you.
Yeah, I love them.
Thanks.
Yes. So, kind of getting into the individual levels. Do we want to chat about each level overall? I feel like
sure. Do you want me to give like a synopsis of like what I was going for with that level before you get into it, or do you want to get into it and then what do you think?
Okay, that's a good question.
Maybe you go first. You go first.
Okay. I was like, we can switch it up between some of the stories as well, for sure.
Also, 7 Levels is available on Amazon. if you're interested.
We'll
So
link it in the description. Yes. Yeah. Good shout out. Did not
yeah,
even think to mention that. You could buy this on Amazon, hardcover, paperback, or Kindle version,
yeah,
depending on your preferred reading style. We have
facts.
released all options.
Yeah, yeah,
So like we said, there are 7 levels that you'll essentially go through, 7 different journeys you'll go through as you read.
hmm
7 levels.
yeah,
And so it starts out with a story, level 1, called Wet Socks. So, Wet Socks, again, like for me, I think it's really, really cool how BC Millington made it so that you could put yourself in the shoes of the main character, basically.
yeah,
Like anybody can read this and think about their own life, you know? So
yeah.
basically, should I give like kind of
Well, I don't
the
know.
overview of the story? Kind of
Maybe a
like,
little bit.
yeah,
I mean,
so
yeah, yeah, yeah. You go.
okay, so Wet Socks is about basically going home. It's about going home after maybe like a longer period of time. You haven't been in a while and you're going home, but it's not really feeling like that warm, homey, like good feeling inside that you get when you go visit your childhood home or visit your family or anything like that.
Yeah,
And it's kind of discussing the idea about like dragging your baggage through other people's lives, dragging your like almost toxicity through other
your
people's
trauma.
lives, your trauma
Yeah,
through other people's lives, and how that actually affects the people that are around you, and how you have, I guess, like put that onto other people. And yeah, so the wet socks aspect. Did you have something to
yeah.
add?
I love that.
Okay, please. I was
Yeah,
like, you said you go, so I was like, I could
yeah.
go.
Well, essentially, yeah. Just like essentially the metaphor of like dragging your issues, your problems, your insecurities, all of the things that we all struggle with internally, like your demons, so to speak, as they would refer to them. Like you carry those things with you. A lot of us have like on addressed like trauma, unaddressed like things that we've dealt with from childhood, from relationships, from the past, like all of those sorts of things. And so yeah, exactly what you said, just kind of like how does that impact other people? Like, do you think about the impact that you've had on other people that you've come across in your life? Do you think about how your unresolved traumas influenced your relationship with that person and how you might have treated them? So that is kind of like, yeah, it's like a homecoming, but it's really like a reckoning of all the things you've done.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is Wet Socks. You did a great job. I think you should do all the little
Thank you. Nah, nah, nah,
synopsises for
nah.
all
Nay,
of
nay, nay,
them.
nay, nay. All right, number two, level 2. Talk to us.
Level 2 is called musical horror.
Yeah. And
So
before we get into this one, it's
yes.
super ironic, and Sid will tell you, I actually really don't like like musicals and stuff. I don't like, obviously I make an exception for kids movies,
Of
but
course.
majority of the time I think musical numbers, song and dance have no place in like adult media.
Yeah.
It drives me crazy. Like we're watching like I don't know.
Sinners was a good
Yeah. Oh
example
my
because that was a
god.
great movie,
I
but you
love
checked out
Sinners.
so much during the
Love
music
Sinners. It's
scenes.
literally such a good movie. That jig and dance lost me. Like the
The
vampire,
Irish,
yeah, the
yeah, like
vampire Irish jig, yeah, I was lost. So that's like a personal preference for
yeah.
me.
And
And so yeah, and so go ahead.
no, I was gonna say, and when you were writing this, I used to hate watching horror movies as well.
Mhm.
So it was kind of like a little mesh between the things that we didn't really like watching, and this
Yeah.
was like playing on that. Yeah, so I
Yeah,
think that was.
100%. Yeah.
I've gotten into horror movies more recently, so. um, but yeah, essentially, I mean, I don't even know where to start with musical horror. I'm like, there's so much, and I feel like
Yeah.
you will do a better job
Well,
explaining the concepts.
okay, all right. Well, for musical horror, it's kind of like the same thing. In the sense of this one, it's more like psychological. It's not
Mm-hmm.
as in your face like horror element. This one is more of like a psychological thriller. In the sense of like this person has woken up in the hospital. They don't really know what's happened to them. And on top of that, like the world that they're in is just completely different. and all of their least favorite things are happening around them.
Yeah.
And they can't really understand like why, like they can't piece together how they got there or why this is happening to them. But essentially it is following this person's like realization of an action that they've taken in their own personal life, which has led them to get to this place. But it's again kind of in the same sense, like addressing the reality of us as human beings. And when we face these hard times in our lives and we tend to isolate from other people and remove ourselves from the people who care about us and the people who are like our community, so to speak, and kind of what can happen in doing so. Like, you face a hard time, don't isolate yourself, I guess, is
Yeah.
kind of the moral of the musical horror. But it's a kind of an ironic take because there's horror characters all throughout the entire story, but it
Yeah,
isn't.
tell me a little more about the
Yeah.
horror character.
But they're meant almost to be involved in the story in an ironic way, which
Hmm.
I did as like a little take to kind of make fun of horror a little bit, because again, like the genre, I feel like we see so many of the horror films that are just like obvious, like,
Yeah.
oh, dude, run away, like,
Hmm.
stand up, or don't go down into the basement.
Right.
We see those sorts of things where all these creatures are waiting, and they wait for that opportune moment. So this one, I kind of just wanted to, I don't know, de-weaponize all those like
Like
traditional horror.
scary characters.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
it's like, even though they're all present in the story, they're actually the least scary thing that's happening, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like it definitely, the main character goes through a journey during
Yeah.
musical horror of just
Hmm.
like, I mean, waking up and
Yeah.
then you go through it. Yeah. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
yeah, it's definitely a very like whoa once you kind of get to that realization of
Yeah.
what the person in the story is going through.
Yeah.
Very much, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean,
And I mean, like, for me personally, my like writing style, so to speak, like, I don't love a ton of like fluff or like
mhm,
BS information. I try to really like keep the stories moving with like how I'm doing it. Cause I guess the way I try to write is like, I try to write in a way of like something I would want to read. So something that isn't, drawing everything out with like
right.
long-winded explanations and stuff like that. Like, you definitely have to make inferences as you're reading this story and try and
Mhm.
like implant yourself into those positions so that you can truly like follow along with what's happening. Because if you're hoping that I'm telling you exactly how you should think and feel about the situations, I definitely don't do
No, you
that.
definitely don't. Yeah, you leave a lot up to interpretation in a
Yeah.
good way and like the
Yeah.
best way because it's not rigid storytelling. It's
Yeah.
like very fluid and it allows the reader, the audience to, like you said, implant themselves into the stories, which I think is really like I think that's really cool that you did it that
Cool.
way
Thank
because
you.
it again does allow for a lot more almost like creative freedom in the reader's
Yeah, well,
head.
that's exactly what I was thinking. Like, I don't want it to be something where everybody who reads it experiences it the same way. Like when you're back to wet socks, when you're reading Wet Socks, you should be envisioning your own childhood home.
Yes.
You should, when the family members start to come into play in that one, you should be envisioning your own people, and like your own, in your own situations, because that will really kind of implant that feeling that I'm trying to convey a little bit more.
Yeah.
And that's why some of those things are left a little bit more open ended so that you can, also put yourself in that position.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Mhm.
and you do an amazing job on that throughout the
Thank you.
entire book. I'm like, I don't
All right,
even I'm just
number three, level
gassed.
three, talk to me.
Level 3. I just lost the page I was on. Yes, I mean, yeah, keep it up. Okay, level 3 is called Travel Day. So, Millie, DC Millington, talk to me a little bit about Travel Day. What is going on with that
I
one?
mean, we have experienced numerous travel days from hell.
Yeah.
And that is essentially exactly what travel day is. I mean, again, just real life horror that a lot of us have experienced in our day-to-day lives.
Yes.
We have all experienced delayed flights, canceled flights, missed flights, traffic on the road. Like, those are all things that we deal with in our everyday lives. And we all hate it. We despise
Mm-hmm.
it. We know it's time wasted. Time will never get back. And a lot of the times you're fully not in control of what's happening. You're just a passenger, right? And so, yeah, that is what travel day is. We are addressing the reality that most humans face, which is a travel day straight from
Yeah.
hell.
Yeah, true. Travel day definitely gives me PTSD.
And a lot of travel day was taken from our experiences.
Yeah.
That was some of our worst travel experiences, kind of like, what's the
Put on
word?
paper,
Yeah, put
basically,
into
like
paper.
manifested into this
Exactly.
story.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've had some days like that.
Yes. Yeah. We've had plenty of our own nightmarish travel stories and
Yeah.
everything. So,
And yeah, I mean, my premise with this one is that, again, sometimes you don't really need a scary creature or a ghost or a witch or something to scare you, right? We're all scared and have that anxiety before we travel every single time.
yeah,
All of us have it.
everyone.
Everyone gets that pit in the stomach when you're pulling up to the airport, hoping the TSA line is small, hoping your flight doesn't get delayed, all of those, hoping your gate doesn't change. All
Right.
of those things we deal with every single time we travel, and that can be seen as a version of hell. And so, yeah,
Yes,
so that's what
genuinely.
that is. It's a very real day from hell that all of us have been through and experienced.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think of it too as like travel day, like escape rooms. Like you literally
Yeah,
cannot get out of traveling. Like
yeah,
no matter what you do, something else is going to happen. And then you're like diverted on another path. And yeah,
yeah,
anyway,
yeah.
reading Travel Day definitely gives you the same idea of
I
like,
know.
it'll make you think about your worst travel experiences.
Yeah,
And I mean,
it made us worried the next time we were traveling. We
and
had to travel
for good
shortly afterwards,
reason.
and we were like, if anything from this book happens on our
And it
travel
did.
day, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah,
Yeah, no,
a
it
little bit anxiety
definitely.
inducing, but it's a good one.
No, it is a good one. It's
Real life health.
yeah, genuinely.
Which
And
brings
I'm
us
like, which
to
brings us to
level 4.
level 4. I'm like, let me cover up the last part of this one. Level 4, crowded.
Crowded. Level
Yeah.
4.
Yeah,
In
level
7
4,
levels.
crowded.
Available on Amazon. Level 4.
Yes. Ooh, I like that. I sound like a radio voice. I love it. Okay, well, tell me a little bit about the idea behind crowded.
um yeah, crowded is basically just a, well, I don't want to say just a, but
No, I know.
it's a pretty real, I guess, parallel of like capitalism, right?
Mm-hmm.
All of us are the subservient class to a ruling class of people who control all of the means of production and 90% of the wealth on our planet.
Yeah.
And the reality is that most humans on the planet who are working everyday people, we don't enjoy what we do. We're not doing it because we want to do it. We're not doing it because we love to do it. We're doing it because we have to do it. Otherwise, we wouldn't eat. That is the reality of what human existence is predicated on. You either work or you're on the streets.
Yeah.
And so this is just kind of addressing the ideology behind this grind lifestyle that we all live, which again is a form of hell. It is hell that we have to show up and grind every single day of our lives to simply be able to afford food. Think about that. Our planet produces food, water for free, and energy for free. And we are paying for those things to sustain ourselves in order for a couple hundred people to live in extreme wealth. The rest of us have to live like this.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's essentially what crowded is.
I love crowded. Again, 7 levels by BC Millington. Don't forget that name. Yeah, crowded genuinely like it makes you really think about your own like work life, you know, because it is something that people have to do almost every single day. I mean,
Yeah.
if you're working in corporate, you have at least 5 days a week that you're
Right.
doing
The
that.
grind.
Yeah, like grinding and having to commute and having to do all those things. And I think Crowded does a really good job of, I guess, like, I don't know what word I want to use. I've been having such a problem with words recently. But Crowded does a really great job of portraying that like feeling that you get when you're commuting and going to work and doing all those kind of mundane things,
Right.
and that independence as well, that kind of
Yeah.
like solo feeling.
Yeah, yeah, because that is the reality, right? Like, everybody, everybody on the road or everybody on the street is also going to work, but you're going to your own place, you're on your own mission trying to
Yeah.
get there. And then the reality is we all know deep down, what will happen if you don't go to work. And
Yeah.
that is the reality that drives us all forward. And so this Crowded is essentially just really addressing on the most basic level what that drive of survival really looks like in humans.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
that's a good
mean,
one. It's a very, very like real world hell again. Like there's no zombies or werewolves in this one. Like it's not anything from a fantasy world. It is a mirror of our world being held up in front of our
yeah,
face.
basically. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So again, love Crowded. I mean, I love the whole book. I really do. I just think some of them hit a little harder than others because it makes you really like introspective about what is being proposed to you in the story.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like with Crowded, again, we can all relate to that feeling of like even just feeling like people are in our way.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we go out driving, we'll go and do an errand midday. I mean, this is fully unrelated to the concept
It's
of
not.
crowding,
It's
but
not.
kind of
It's the same.
same concept. But
Yeah.
we'll go out and do an errand, and there's so many people on the road, and you're like, what the heck are you all doing out right now? And then you're trying to get around everyone, and it's
Yeah.
just like, yeah, everyone's so individualistic in this day and age, especially. So like,
Yeah.
Crowded does a really good job of bringing that feeling to light and like dramatizing it in a way and really making people think,
Yeah. Yeah.
You're looking at the spine.
Yeah.
Yes, the spine is sick.
This looks cool. All right, what's
Yeah.
next? What's next? After Crowded, we got
After Crowded, we have level 5, Endless Wash.
Endless Wash.
So
Yeah.
BC Millington, what can you tell me about Endless Wash? What can you tell the people about Endless Wash?
Endless Wash, I guess this one is kind of where we start transitioning more into like the horror type stuff, more like traditional horror where it's a little bit of a mind fuck, I think a little bit.
Yeah.
So in this one, it's more so of like not really realizing what's perception versus reality or what's real versus like fake. And the metaphor of the endless wash is kind of just like ourselves, right? We beat ourselves up so much. Like we are so mean to ourselves. Our self-talk is terrible. We, really dig away at our own selves when we're like thinking about ourselves, it takes a lot of retraining and practice for people to change their self-talk to positivity. And so, yeah, the whole thing with the endless wash is like, they're trying to like clean themselves. They're trying to grow, trying to develop as like a person. But, they keep thinking that there's all this stuff on them and wrong with them and things that they're not doing right. And so they're just viciously trying to correct those things. But in the process, they're literally hurting themselves. Because again, if you take away too many parts of yourself, you'll lose who you are.
Dang,
Yeah.
that's beautiful. I'm like, wow. I mean, that's so beautiful.
Thank you.
I'm like, wow, I can relate to that so much. That's crazy.
But yeah, so it's a very different take on what I've just explained, but that's kind of my mindset behind it. And that's why, at the end, when I'm kind of explaining, there was nothing there, but they just kept going, kept trying.
So like they're their own worst enemy, basically.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's the idea behind Endless Wash.
Dang, yeah, Endless Wash. Wow, because that is so real. That's something that everybody experiences. I mean, as much as people love to be, like, people are confident in their own skin, but at the same time, like, you'll have different things where you're like, I don't like this about myself, or I need to change this, or I need to do this so I can be a better person, or so people like me more, and things like that. So that is a really good metaphor that you use.
And I feel like the reality is that like we think of the harshest things about ourselves.
True.
You know, we think of things that are way worse than anybody would else probably think of about ourselves. Because the reality is most people aren't even spending that much time thinking about you. But yeah.
Yeah, it's so true. But the perception of yourself, I think, is typically the worst.
Yeah.
In most cases. I mean,
definitely.
I can relate to that. I probably see myself in a worse light than anybody else does, you know. So
yeah, that's
definitely
real. That's
super
real.
relatable.
Yeah. Level 6.
Level 6.
Second to last.
All right, I'm like, don't read the end of.
I go over here.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, thanks, Willie. All right, level 6 is called mirror tag.
Yeah.
Mirror tag is crazy.
Yeah.
So
mirror tag is a horror.
Yeah,
is a
mirror
horror
tag
story
is definitely
for sure.
a horror.
This
yeah,
is less about like less about addressing kind of real world similarities and parallels, and more so just like a through and through. I want you to feel scared and horrified. And it's graphic, it's bloody, there's killings, there's death, there's running, there's mirror tag, it's all encompassing. But that one hits heavy.
That one does hit heavy. This one's definitely like plays on, and I mean mirror tag, it's got mirrors involved. And if you're like me, you don't like mirrors in scary movies, because I can't look in mirrors after. I just know something's gonna be there. One time I look in a mirror and it's dark, something's gonna be behind me. So anyway, so that kind of plays, like, this mirror tag plays a little bit on that fear of like something being in the mirror of like, but like Millie said, it is a true horror, just like gory and
it's just like that good old fashioned friends are back in town, they get together, they want to take a trip down nostalgia, but that nostalgia trip
ends pretty quickly.
It's not very fun.
It's not fun for them. No, it's not.
I had a lot of fun writing this one.
Yeah. Yeah, you did. I mean, you did a great job.
I would when there were moments when I was writing this, like I would be either typing on like the laptop or typing on my phone, and I would just start laughing. And Sid would be like, "What is going on over there?" And I would be like, "Wait until you see what I'm writing right now."
I would be so concerned, because I feel like 7 Levels desensitized me to some horror a little bit, because I read it so much.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, I would probably be way more scared of this if I was reading it for the first time.
Yeah.
Whereas like when you're laughing at things, I was like, oh God, what is he writing over there? What am I going to be reading? And like, I was worried. But now I'm like, I'm desensitized to it, but it's scary. Like when you read it for the first time, you're going to be like, oh,
it's graphic.
It's graphic.
There's some graphic stuff happening in mirror tag, but yeah, just another level. Another level. That was level 6. So bring us home.
Bringing us home all the way to level 7. We have Puddle, level 7. Yeah. So Puddle has, I think, great like concept and metaphors behind it. So what can you tell me about Puddle?
There's a lot about Puddle, I think. But I think this one, again, a little bit more psychological, less like in your face jump scare, no graphicness in this one. But it's kind of just kind of about that like fleeting ideas, right? People talk about grasping on to that inner childhood and that inner thing, and those sorts of things, and try and move through life like embracing that. But I think like the reality is there is a time to grow up. There is a time to take accountability and responsibility for the actions you've made in your life. And I think when you try to avoid those things or run away from them, or, fully ditch out on your responsibilities, trying to create some sort of space for yourself. I don't know. I think it's a little grimy. You're not taking responsibility for those actions that you've done. I think there are ways to hold on to your maybe childhood innocent. You know what I mean? Like you
Yeah.
can still practice that in good ways. You can watch an old show. You can go get a costume of one of your favorite childhood characters. You can
Yep.
introduce your brats to your favorite characters from back in the day. Like you can reinvent your childhood nostalgia in those sorts of ways.
Mm-hmm.
But I think once you get to the point of like, oh, I'm gonna leave my life, leave my wife, leave my family, I'm gonna, quit all of this stuff because it's all about me now. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
no, you've made these decisions. So yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's a little bit what I was trying to address, just kind of like the irony sometimes of these ideas that people have and the things that they are willing to abandon.
Yeah, absolutely. And like even further than that, it goes into the loneliness and depression that people typically will feel after isolating themselves and
Yeah.
pushing aside the people that are important in their lives. And like,
Yeah,
yeah, I think
yeah,
it's a
definitely.
good
Yeah, it's
metaphor
just
for that as well.
yeah, facts. And this was just like another one that I don't even remember what like how it came up, but when we first started talking about it, Sid really liked the idea of like, I don't know, kind of being like transported to a different place.
Yeah.
Because, we're very big believers on like, multi dimensions and
Mm-hmm.
energies and those sorts of things. And yeah, sometimes I feel like we can be transported.
Yeah.
And sometimes that has to happen for certain realizations to happen. And yeah, to your point, like sometimes it takes a lot for people to recognize, like, dang, maybe I did mess up. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
my family was where I belonged. Maybe, those sorts of things were more important than I thought at face value.
Yeah.
So
So
yeah.
true.
So yeah, I think that was kind of, yeah, the idea behind Puddle.
Yeah, no, I mean, and I think Puddle is a great like cap off to the book, to the
Cool.
rest of the stories. I
Yeah.
think it really like brings it all home and is a
Cool.
good it's a great way to end and like, you
Cool.
know,
Yeah.
like you said, talking about those different ideas behind like I guess pushing the family to the side and like
Yeah.
isolating yourself a little bit in that way and being like trying
Mm.
to hold on to that childhood like freedom, you know.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
like and going into the effects of that really does kind of just like bring the whole book together, I think.
Yeah, yeah, it is. And I mean, people are going through that every day, right? We hear of quarter life crisis, we hear of midlife crisis, like it's a real thing that people are experiencing.
Yeah.
And yeah, sometimes, sometimes that dive internally shouldn't be a dive internally, but should be a dive externally, and really
Mm-hmm.
leaning into your people around to help you. So yeah, so that's kind of what we were going for. And
Yeah.
another thing I'll just say about this, because of the day and age that we're in, I never use AI for anything. I actually hate AI. AI is not in my life at all. I would never use AI to create a story. Everything, every page, every word, every sentence, every period in this book came from right here and went straight from my brain to this page. And that is a fact. I will never, ever, ever in my life use AI to make my art and my stories. And I stand by that. I am an author on my own creativity from stuff that comes from my brain, and I don't need a computer to help me with that. Fuck AI. This is a real art right here.
Yes. Yes. I love that. Yes. Great disclaimer because you really never know nowadays. So,
Facts. Yeah.
yeah, don't assume that this was AI because it's not. This was
Yeah.
all from our lovely Millie's, BC Millington's brain.
Facts.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
so there was one other thing I wanted to ask you
Ooh.
if you were
Okay.
willing to give a little more detail on,
Yeah.
because on the back of the book,
Mm.
you mention that each of the stories share a common figure.
Mm.
So, I mean, you can definitely leave that up to everyone to read the book and
Yeah.
learn about, but I was just curious if you would
Yeah.
tell any
Valid.
little author
Yeah,
secrets on
I can
that.
drop a little snippet about that. Well, essentially, yeah, there is one common figure that shows its face in every single story, and is kind of, in a way, the antagonist that's kind of taking us all on the journey through these 7 levels. So that is kind of the role of this creature. It is taking us through the 7 levels journey, and this creature in this story is essentially the unknown force that's working against everybody in the story. So yeah, keep an eye out for that common character. Once you see it, you kind of will know what to look out for in every story.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is mentioned in every story, and it's essentially just a physical representation of that unknown power that's working against us. So so yeah, that's kind of what that theme is, and yeah, it's
Nice.
sprinkled in there throughout.
Yes, it is indeed. Yeah,
um
and I think, yeah. Anyway, thank
yeah,
you.
yeah, of course, yeah. So little
Yeah,
secret
yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah. Read the book. Read the
Yeah,
book.
yeah.
7 Levels on Amazon. BC Millington.
Facts, yeah. And yeah, I just want to
Yeah.
say, like, I really appreciate you
Oh.
and all your help with everything. Anybody watching, I appreciate if you support it. You know, in the future, hopefully, you'll see it on the screen in a adaptation, a short 7 episode series. That's the goal. That's the dream behind it. That's what we're working towards. So yeah, any support will be greatly appreciated. You know, we're just out here. We're all just trying to make it. We're trying to do
Yeah.
our own things, and this is kind of my latest creative outlet. And yeah, I would really appreciate any support. So yeah, BC Millington on Amazon, 7 levels.
Yes, absolutely. Well, if you made it this far,
Thanks for watching.
and we'll see you next time.
Peace.
Oh.